So I thought, today is a holiday, just kind of keep it light. I never went through the last few chapters of this book, and I really feel like the last section of it was very, very relevant to us as salespeople, as people that are on the phone a lot. So I wanted to go through this. So now we're going to go through the vocal cues. This is like your voice and how you talk and how you deliver. So let's go through a couple slides here, and I'll also, of course, read through this too. So can you go to, like, way down? I'll tell you. Keep going. So we've done all this. We did gestures. I think we stopped after self-soothing. Okay. Let's do this. If you guys have questions, you can ask. Right? So vocal power, how we say our words, our tone, our volume, our pace, our syntax, our cadence are just as important as what we say. So you know what I notice about podcasts, influencers, politics, that we give an inordinate amount of credibility to people who can communicate regardless of what they're actually saying or what they know. Always remember that. If someone can deliver something really, really well, even if it's bullshit, we kind of buy it. And we want the people, we want our leaders, we want the people we listen to be great communicators, but sometimes half of what they're saying is just inaccurate. And that's how this country is. And it kind of started, I've read books on this, it started with Dale Carnegie. Because he taught people how to speak in a way to be very influential. Prior to him, people looked up to someone like Abraham Lincoln, who was not like a flailing communicator or motivational. He was solemn, and he had, he was serious. We respected the seriousness of people, and you didn't talk a lot. And now you can see that we overvalue extroverted people and communicate. But knowing that the world is like that, you have to play into that a little bit, right? I definitely play. I have to consciously do that because I'm not like that, right? Here's what's astounding. Doctors who receive poor ratings on their vocal power experience higher rates of malpractice lawsuits. Right, Sheila? So if you don't have good bedside manner and then you make a mistake, you're getting sued. But if you're like kind and you know how to talk to them, right, and you listen and you have empathy, and then they mess up, they're gonna be like, man, I probably did his best, it was a mistake, and it sucks, and they're not gonna sue them, is what this is saying, right? We don't just sue doctors based on their skill level, we sue them based on our perception of their skills. And this judgment is made within a few seconds of hearing them. Okay? So how to sound confident. Avoid nervous pitch. So what is this saying here? When we're nervous or stressed, our voice tends to pitch higher. I call this cue nervous pitch. When we're anxious, our body contracts. We tuck in our chin. We tense our neck. We clench our jaw, we cross our arms, we slump down, we roll our shoulders in. All this contracting allows less space for our lungs, making it hard to take in air and therefore difficult to project our voice. This is why our voice cracks or gets higher when we're nervous. So if you speak in if you let out like a high pitch, that does not show confidence. So what the book taught us in the earlier chapters, if you were there for that or if you read it, it says you have to fix your posture if you want to sound confident, if you want to sound powerful, right? So if you're contracted like this, you're not going to be able to let your voice out the way that you need to. And people notice that. When we're confident, we pull our shoulders down and back, we puff out our chest, we look up and around, we use our arms. This relaxes and expands our muscles. We use to speak, our lungs, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Let's try our first experiment. So you can do this later, right? First, try saying, I'm happy to be here in whatever posture you're currently in, right? This is your neutral expression. Now contract your body, get as small as possible, and then do it, and then get open, and then see how you sound. It's hard to speak loudly in this coiled, defeated posture. You don't want to have a defeated posture. The more space your body takes up, the more vocal freedom you have to project. We instinctually mistrust people using nervous pitch. So when you come out with a higher pitch than what you normally have, that signals mistrust from the person. There's one very cute exception to high-pitched preference. Babies prefer interacting with adults with a higher pitched voice, which may be why adults instinctively raise their voices to that higher pitch when talking to babies. So we are not talking to babies, right? While we're uncomfortable listening to a nervous pitch, we love hearing a confident pitch. When we use our lowest comfortable pitch, we project confidence. So you want to use a lower pitch in your voice. Researchers find that lowering the pitch of your voice makes other people perceive you as more powerful. Not only that, you feel more powerful. Okay? So, number one, fix your posture. Right? So sometimes it's like, if I say, hey, An, answer this question, and she's sitting in the room, maybe she'll like shuffle around and then she'll answer. That's the right way to do it. That's why I'm always like, speak up, speak up, speak up. You guys, if you're not prepared, if you don't think about it consciously, you are whispering. And there's a lot of people in the room. And I know it takes, right? I'm trying to coach you guys. I'm not being mean. It takes experience. It takes practice. Speak on the out breath. Taking a deep breath is one of the fastest ways to feel and sound more confident. Try not to speak at the top of your inhale. Rather, take a deep breath in and speak as you release. It's hard for me now to kind of even mimic these things for you guys because I've learned this and I don't even know how to do what she's talking about. But you got to take a deep breath. Sometimes you'll notice me, right? This is why I didn't want to do these trainings, because you'll notice me doing a lot of these things. You'll notice I'll just take a big inhale before I get into another point. So I'll be like, ba, 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 and I'll be like, and then I let it go again. That's what you need to do. How to be taken seriously. So this is a big one, right? And I've been waiting to get to this. So she talks about how she consulted with a large business software company to improve their blah, blah, blah. And she said she was helping this one guy and he had a big problem. He couldn't close. He was charismatic. He was knowledgeable about the product. So it had to be a cues issue. Right? So listen to this. His entire pitch was great. Low tone, lots of vocal charisma. Yet when it came to the all-important price tag of the offering, he gave away all his vocal power. Each and every time Elliot mentioned the price, he used the question inflection. The price of our service is $500. And she's saying that he would say it like this, and then his voice would go up at the end. So our service is $500? I hear people do that on the phone all the time. And hey, if you know anyone else, referrals, whatever, you can help. And then they get off the phone. And I'm like, are you asking or telling? So you have to, this is good because you will notice yourself doing this. Is called voice inflection. One of the most annoying people to listen to Okay, and I know this from back in the day. If you listen to Kourtney Kardashian, every single statement she makes, she does a voice inflection at the end.
Oh my God.
Because I don't know, and then they came You can't use that at at the end of every single sentence. Listen to her next time, right? I don't know if she still does it, a long time ago. But people do that. You talk to people and their voice sounds like that. You have to be more conscious about this. By the way, if you are making a lot of cold calls or whatever kind of calls you're making, referral calls, but I think this is probably more relevant to cold calls. If you are not getting the results, it's all of the things that I'm talking about right now. And there's a lot more that I have to get into. And trust me, when I was reading this, when I was studying this, when I was putting this together, I had exact people and conversations in mind of the things that I'm talking about today. This is not like a general training where it's like, hey, maybe it applies to you, maybe it doesn't. This is everybody. So the voice inflection thing is very important. Elliot wasn't stating his price, he was asking it. Researchers find using question inflection on a statement cues our brain to switch from just listening to scrutinizing. So when you do it, it makes them question, it makes them suspicious. That is not the time of the sentence that you want to have voice inflection or get higher, okay? And when the question inflection is mistakenly used on a statement, it signals conversational weakness and insecurity. You are subconsciously asking the listener, do you believe me? Can we go to the next one? All right. She says, I hear it on voicemails. Hi, this is Sarah. So glad you called. I'll get back to you soon. Right? I don't even know how to do it. I hear it in introductions. Let's get started. Let's talk about the new project. Let's kick it off. This is voice inflection. I hear when people share their ideas. I have an idea. I was thinking, could we do this part first? You think it will help us be more effective? If you ask your statements, you're asking others to doubt you. Even the most confident words said with the question inflection invite less confidence. She says, listen to your voicemail greeting. Are you using the voicemail inflection? Re-record it. Listen to an old presentation or video call. So some of you guys have, stuff on YouTube. Re-listen to some of your stuff and see if you're doing that. I mean, our best of the best trainers are not doing that. Vocal power cue, number whatever. Volume controls emotional. Volume control shows emotional control. Volume control. So she analyzed people who were lying. So she analyzed like big interviews where who's a baseball player? Alex Rodriguez. She watched the Alex Rodriguez interview when he was being interviewed by, I think, Katie Couric, and they asked her, using steroids back when he was lying about it, and she was like, look, you can tell he's lying. And then there was Lance Armstrong, and she's like, look, these are the cues. So liars raise their pitch and lower their volume, right? So if your voice gets higher and then your volume gets lower, she said that tells our brain that someone is lying. Liars accidentally drop their volume because they're nervous, lack confidence in their words, and instinctively don't want people to hear their lie, just in case they get caught. No, I wasn't there. It wasn't me. This is one reason we show increased confidence to those who speak in higher volumes. Even I don't have this. Like, I'll be in a restaurant with some guys that I know, and they can just project. Like, it'll be a loud and be like, hey, come here. I can't do that, honestly. Like, this is the loudest that I can talk. I can't yet. Like, the way that they can do it. But what this is saying is the people who speak in higher volumes, we show increased confidence in this. We tend to like people who speak on the louder side. Are you loud, Sheila? People like you. Right? A strong, confident, vocal demeanor persuades others because it signals that speakers strongly endorse their own message. This is what I'm talking about. That message can be completely false, but if someone communicates it with confidence, with volume, the right way, it's going to make you want to believe them because you think the person believes in it so much. The best communicators speak louder and vary their volume. Volume is a critical aspect of power. It takes breadth and expansiveness to be loud. So listen to this. Are you an introvert? Do you have trouble speaking loudly? If this is you, you know you're not alone. Don't try to go too loud too quickly. Just dial up slightly on the points that really matter. In fact, this has an even greater effect than always speaking loudly. Introverts can also try simply leaning in or moving closer. Being closer to someone will make you sound louder. Okay, so it's not easy for everybody. Sit up straighter, take a deep breath, plant your feet, tilt your head up, clear your throat. Does this mean we should be as loud as possible? No! True vocal power comes from showing mastery of volume dynamism. Controlling your volume shows you have control of your message. Listen to this, it takes deep competence to be able to match your volume to your content. Right? So when I say, like, dude, I've been in front of the room for 20 years. I know how to do a training. I know how to do a presentation. That's what she's saying. It takes deep competence to match. You don't want to get loud and get soft at the wrong, depending on what you're talking about, the wrong topics. I thought that was really interesting. Pause for power. For the first 27 years of my life, I was addicted to verbal fillers. Specifically, I used so, like, well, you know, when I was nervous, thinking, waiting, stalling, and sometimes it was simply out of habit. Verbal fillers destroy your credibility. One study found speakers who use verbal fillers are seen as less prepared and less confident. We use verbal fillers for two main reasons. First, to stall for time while we are thinking of our next point. Second, because we're afraid of being interrupted. That's interesting, right? People do it because they don't want to get interrupted. Here's the catch. You may find the more you use verbal fillers, the more you're interrupted. It's as if people pick up on your lack of confidence and they don't want to waste their time listening, right? So what's the cure? The power of the pause. Pausing shows competence and confidence. People confident in their delivery don't need to fill it with fluff, and they know listeners will wait for them to finish their points, right? The best kind of pause is a cue I call the breathing pause. This is when you pause and take a breath. So here's the thing, guys. And you can do it like that. So this is what pausing does. What can you do in the pause? Sometimes I pause because, I come up here and my brain, a lot of this is ad-lib. I'm ad-libbing things, right? I have points and then I expand on points. What I expand on is not written anywhere. It's coming from my head. So I'm looking for like the best word. Or I'm talking about one point and then I go off on another point, but I gotta come back to that other point. So the pause allows me to kind of reconnect to what I was just talking about, or to pick the best word of my vocabulary to deliver the message, right? So there's a lot that can happen. The pause will keep your vocal pitch nice and low. It helps you increase your volume if that's the time you need to do it. It gives you a moment to think. It makes you feel and sound more confident. And of course, it prevents you from using verbal fillers. So if you watch my trainings, a lot of times I'll just sit and look at you guys. I'm not like, right? I don't do that. It's just like, we'll just sit here in silence until we get to the next part. And then she talks about the awkwardness of very long pauses. Obviously, we don't want that. Right. Another powerful place to use a breathing pause is right after asking a rhetorical question. Like, who would want that? I'm not asking you to answer, right? It's a rhetorical question, and then I'm pausing, and I can take a break and I can think for a second. Never pause at the end, right? At the end of a point. Pause before you give the answer. That's the power pause. It creates intrigue and interest. So in conclusion, it's only $500. Okay. Next. Voice likability. Make a memorable voice first impression. Think about that. A voice first impression. Like, there's one thing like, hey, look someone in the eye, shake them in the hand. Shake them in the hand.
Shake them in the hand.
Shake their hand, look in the eye. Right? But they remember your voice too. People determine how confident you are within the first 200 milliseconds of hearing you speak. This means your vocal first impression happens with the first word spoken. This is often hello, hey, hi. Like, if you introduce someone sharp to me that just comes out of the meeting, like, that's a very tactful hello. And I know I'm going in there and it'll be, and I'm gonna look at you and right? Because you guys are introducing me as someone, right? I'm not gonna go in there weak. Even when I meet people and it's like, hey, right? That's not the way you want to come across. It doesn't give a good first impression. So this is cool. She said there's 6 different versions of hello. Think about this. It's just one word, but imagine the impression that it gives. A normal hello. So just say hello. Or if I just say hello, you'll be like hello. What about a happy hello? Hello. Hello. Right? What about a sad hello? You had a funeral. Hello. Right. Angry hello. Hello. Power pose hello. Say it like you sound like Superman. Hello. And then again, say a normal hello. So what this is showing us is just because you're saying hello doesn't mean that it says hello. So you have to consciously think. You ever do this, Sheila, where you're really tired and then a client's calling and you have to kind of gather yourself before? Because you're not going to be like, hello. Even though you might have literally just nodded off. So I'm like letting the phone ring, I take a deep breath, and I make it sound like it's the middle of the day. Like I'm like, hey, hello. Right? Hey, how you doing? Because you never want to give off that impression when people, right? Don't answer the phone when you're in a bad mood. Your irritability changes the sound of your voice. I keep a picture of my daughter as the background on my phone, so if I must answer the phone when I'm feeling a little off, I look at her to spark some love. The control hellos and the happy hellos both ranked equally in likability. The power pose hello didn't achieve high likability ratings. It ranked only slightly better than anger, coming in third place behind smiling and neutral. Okay. We like confidence, but power posing can sometimes come across as a little aggressive. Speaking of breath, there's one more mistake people make when saying hello. They hold their breath. Take in a quick inhale before you answer the phone. Practice saying hello on your out breath. Those of you guys who need to hear that. All right. Warmth cue number 2, or vocal warmth cue number 2, sound friendly. All right. Sound friendly. So this is good because here's everyone's secret worry in an interaction. Do I belong here? Am I wanted? Right? Your voice is the single best way to welcome someone with reassurance and belonging. Here's how. Use a warm-up cue. Right? So it shows them that they triggered your warmth, and then they reciprocate. Here's some of my favorites. Oh, it's so good to hear from you. I was hoping you would call. What's going on, man? I was hoping you would call. This is such a nice surprise. So glad you called. These are simple phrases, but it's going to comfort the person on the receiving end, and it'll be a lot more warmer. Hello, friend. I'm happy you called. Hello, Tia. Good to hear from you. Well, hello. Nice to hear your name. Nice to see your name pop up. Hey, it's been way too long, right? As we learned in the last cue, smiling helps you sound happier and more likable. Sound more interesting. I don't even know what's up here anymore. I'm just wanting to do this. I'm wrapping up here. I just have a couple more. Okay, so she talks about how you have to have confidence, but you also have to have emotion as an aspect of warmth. So confidence and warm, that's what's going to give you what we call vocal variety. So you're not just sounding the same. And this is the part I really wanted to get into. When you are emotionless, it does not sound casual or cool, it sounds careless. If you sound bored, you cue boredom. If you feel proud of an idea, don't act casual. Speak with gratitude, motivation. Don't act ambivalent. Introverts in particular struggle with vocal variety because it calls attention to themselves. You're not calling attention to yourself, you're calling attention to your ideas. You know the biggest killer of vocal variety? Scripting. Scripting is a great way to ensure your words might be perfect, but it makes it hard to add genuine vocal variety and emotion. So these are things that I've always noticed, and that's why these people are writers. They have a way of articulating things that were in my brain, but I just didn't know how to eloquently say it. And what I call that is like a script voice. She doesn't say that. So when I hear people on the phone, I'm like, dude, you sound like a tape recorder. This doesn't sound normal. You have to conversationalize your script. You can use a script, but actually talk like you're talking to someone in a normal conversation. You have to learn how to do that. A lesson from Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was known as a great communicator. Well, that wasn't always the case. In his early years, he was fired from a radio station for sounding boring and flat while reading his ads. To improve, because he used to be an actor, to improve, he practiced reading scripts of FDR's fireside chats, blah, 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 right? And if you read a short phrase from the script and then restated it while speaking in a conversational tone, it sounded much better. He memorized and then conversationalized the idea. If you must read a script, try taking these tips from Reagan, read and look it up, memorize, and then conversationalize. So we have to conversationalize this stuff, right? Yeah, I think that's it. But that's a big one. For those of you guys who are calling resumes, like I just always innately yes, I was bad in the beginning, but quickly I realized I have to make this sound like this was the one and only phone call I'm making. That's a way to think about it. When you call them, can they tell this is your 50th call? Or was this the one, like a lot of you say, hey, your name came across my desk or someone passed me your information. If that really happened, then that should be like in there. You should need to come across like that was the one number that you got. But if you're robotically going through, your pauses are at the wrong times, you're running on, there's no voice inflection at all, there's no vocal variety, there's no warmth, you're just going through. That's why some people get a lot better results from making a lot of calls than you are getting. It is not just a numbers game. There is skill to this. Does that make sense? And the friendly you are and use all this stuff, it's going to help you. Okay? So, month end is